Today is Monday, August 9th, and continuing on from last week's snatch work. Basically just added 5 or 10 pounds from last week's lifts, starting with snatch balances and then hang power snatches, panda pulls, and then some accessories. With these snatch balances, it was made pretty apparent on the previous Saturday, so like 2 days ago, that my overhead stability needs a lot of work. And it was also made apparent, honestly, by the snatch balances that I also did last Monday. It was at 175 and they were pretty challenging. And so this week I worked up to 185 for the 3 triples, and they were also pretty challenging, but I didn't fail, and I think I still have room to go. As well as a lot of room for improvement technically, because I have a tendency, I'm not sure why or like how it started, but I have a tendency to push back instead of just straight up. And I think it sort of stemmed from a misconception that I had like months ago, when I guess just knew less about the snatch and just like technique in general. But I think my understanding of overhead stability was like I need to push back and lean very far forward with my torso, which can work, I guess, but it's, I think, just less efficient than just thinking about pushing straight up with my head through. And so a lot of the sort of balance issues are caused by me pushing back too far and then me ending up on my heels and not being able to maintain that balance. And so what I was thinking about here with these snatch balances was to, one, push straight up and chin down, head through, as well as not just pushing up with my arms, but pushing up with my shoulders and my lats, creating stability for the weight, creating support for the weight, not just with my arms, but by retracting the scapulas and pushing them up and using my lats, just to provide a larger base of support, basically. And yeah, there were some reps here and there that were a little bit shaky from like the weight moving a little bit back and forth, and like me pushing back on some of the weight or some of the reps. But in slowing my descent down, I was able to control them pretty well, or at least to the point where I did not fail them. I think this last rep here was a little shaky and I was about to fail it, but I held on. Yeah, you can see me sort of shift back on my heels, but then sort of readjust the balance by getting it back to my midfoot. So yeah, I know what to sort of focus on and work on, and it's already improving, which is good. So that's that. And then moved on to hang power snatches. Here, focusing on timing, as well as pushing with my legs. So here at this warm-up, I'm pulling pretty aggressively with my arms and not pushing as hard with my legs, which was pointed out to me. So I retook it, focusing on just pushing harder with my legs. And I think it makes a pretty clear difference, both in terms of how it feels as well as how it looks. And I think the idea is that, like, although I can cheat my way through these lighter warm-ups by pulling harder with my arms, it's just not going to work for me when the weights get heavier. And so if I don't start the lighter warm-ups by pushing hard with my legs, then I will definitely not be able to with the heavier weights. And so it's a good idea to practice them early on, even with the lighter weights that I can sort of muscle up. So yeah, that was a big one, focusing on pushing hard with the legs as well as the timing. So in terms of after I extend, being patient enough to sort of not cut the pull short, essentially. Here's my last warm-up, 155. Yeah, with these reps, some were good, some were bad. Most of my first reps were solid, and then my second and third reps were not so good. So here's my first set. Yeah, really thinking about just delaying the timing just slightly of putting myself under, as well as delaying the pulling of my arms just a tiny little bit, thinking about extending upwards. Yeah, that was a pretty solid set. Yeah, and there's also a very clear difference in terms of how it feels when I have the timing down right. Like that first rep was pretty good. And then another thing I'm doing here is like I'm pulling back, not as much upwards. And so here I tried fixing that by again, like delaying my the pulling of my arms just a little bit, as well as just trying to pull straight up. Third rep was a little bit awkward, but getting some reps down with the timing here and there. So now that I sort of know what proper timing is supposed to feel like, it's sort of just trying to search for that and replicate that with each rep. That first rep was pretty solid, but then that second one was my worst one, and the third one was not too bad. And so moving on to Panda Pulls, thinking about the same thing, being patient with the timing of like pulling my arms after I extend with my legs. And then another thing I'm thinking about here as well is keeping my chest high and getting full extension. And one thing I do poorly here with 185 is extending fully. And so you can see like my chest is still over the bar. It's not pulled back, even though like slightly pulled back is where my chest should be if I have theoretically reached full extension. And so that was pointed out to me, / I was able to see it pretty clearly in the video. And so I'm thinking about trying to fix that for these for this next warm-up. Another thing that I don't do super consistently is pulling with my lower back extended. So a lot of my first reps, my lower back is in a decent position, but then I get a little bit lazier for the second and third reps with making sure my back is set properly. But yeah, you can see that these are, at least relative to like the 185 where I was very still over the bar with my chest still over the bar, I'm in a better position of extension. And here, and with like weights this heavy, there's a huge difference in terms of how it feels when I get the timing right. Sorry. When I get the timing correct and when I've reached full extension, having those pieces put together versus when they're not together. It just makes it feel like it's easier to do it wrong, but doing it wrong makes the weight feel way harder, if that makes any sense. So yeah, it's easier for me to do it incorrectly, but it makes it way harder to do. Also, a weird thing that was kind of happening was like my right foot, or like where my feet go once I sort of do the pull under, is not always super consistent. So like that my feet didn't move too much, but then on some reps here and there, like you'll see like my right foot weirdly, like asymmetrically, step out more than the left, in a pretty exaggerated way. Yeah, so that wasn't too bad, but some of them were just a little weird. But yeah, those are the main things that I focused on, and you can kind of tell like which ones are the good ones and which ones are the bad ones. Yeah, so that one, the feet were again kind of weird. So that's another point that I think I have to make sure that I'm consistent with, or more consistent with at least. And then here's my last set. Was pretty tired at this point. Yeah. Hopefully I can snatch this weight soon. I don't know when, but hopefully soon. Yeah, there you can see I'm still my chest is still kind of over the bar. So ideally I'm pulled back just a little bit. And here's my last rep. Yeah, that one was probably the best one out of the three. And then, yeah, just simple pull-ups and then hanging leg raises for core. So yeah, overall, not a terrible day, but not a particularly great day either. Just lots to work on. So yeah, that's about it.